Hello, and welcome to this episode of Hidden Treasures with the Hopkinton Historical Society. I'm your host, Jim Cousins, and I have the current president of the Historical Society with me today, John Palmer, and he's brought a couple of interesting stories that we're going to be talking about. So, John, thank you very much for being here.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to this, and I hope this goes well for the audience. Anyways, I had two topics that I had worked on previously, and I wanted to bring to this show.
Okay.
There's the topics that I had actually did the research for, so I'm familiar with them. One is what I call an historical oddity. It's kind of a one-time thing, but it's very interesting. And the other one is a typical slice of Hopkinton history, a lot of ins and outs, and that's a little more extensive. So I thought the best thing to do would be to do the little oddity first.
Okay.
It's not a very long story.
Okay.
But it's fun.
Great.
So anyways, this is about Chief Ahwanetunk. Now, that's an Indian name. And Chief Ahwanetunk is a Sioux Nation Indian. He was a chief, Chief Ahwanetunk of the Sioux Nation. And he died in Hopkinton.
Really?
In 1866.
Okay.
And this is his story.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. Anyways, he was tied, he got himself employed by a Mr. E.S. Washburn, who operated traveling circuses, traveling Native American Indian circuses in communities. And they were, the Washburn Circus was in Hopkinton at least a couple of times. The circus featured only Indian, Native American performers or whites that were, their face was painted and they were dressed up like an Indian. I call those fake Indians, either real Indians or fake Indians.
Okay.
And they performed in outdoors under large circus tents. They had various acts, and I think this would probably be standard, but they had Native American songs and dances they performed. They had a number of Native American ceremonial scenes, such as a scalping, or a burning at the stake scene, or a war dance scene, or particularly a scene about Pocahontas saving the life of Captain John Smith. Anyways, so the circus went on, and during the performance, during the time they were in Hopkinton in 1866, Chief Ahwanetunk took sick, and he couldn't travel with the show. He had to stay here. He was that sick. So his friend, Mr. Washburn, gave a sum of money to a local, Mr. Crosby, to take care of Ahwanetunk. And that was going on, but unfortunately, Chief Ahwanetunk passed away. He died. And so the unspent money that Crosby had was used to buy a burial lot at Mount Auburn Cemetery and to purchase a gravestone for the chief. The stone has a particular inscription that I'd like to show you the stone and read the description.
Okay.
This is what it says. To the memory of Ahwanetunk, died September 13th, 1866, aged 25 years. Pure in life, in death is called. Erected by his friend E.S. Washburn. Now also on the bottom of the stone is a Latin inscription, and it means in English, true friendship always brings peace. Now, on this stone, you might note that there's an arrow at the top that's been cut into the stone.
Yeah.
And that arrow is pointed towards heaven. So that was done on purpose. This gets a little more interesting because on every Memorial Day for years after this, flowers mysteriously appeared at the gravesite. And nobody knew where they came from or who was responsible for it. And I just recently found some information or heard of some information which may explain the source of this, but it may not.
Okay.
But so this is speculation at the moment, but it makes a lot of sense. There was a Native American girl that was adopted, a child that was adopted by a family, the Wright family that lived on Mayhew Street, and the daughter's name was Carol. And we think Carol was the party responsible for the flowers.
Oh.
She was Native American, and Ahwanetunk, of course, was Native American.
Yeah.
But that's what we know for sure. If we can find documentation of that somehow or other, that would be great. But,
Right. So he was a young guy. He was only 25.
Yeah.
Life was hard back then.
Yeah, it was hard, and the illness. I can't tell you what the illness was. It had to be bad.
Yeah.
And don't know.
And where did you find this information?
So we have an extensive collection of everything at the Historical Society and history. This particular one, I dug out what I told you from articles. I think it was a news article was the basis of this, but it may be other pieces.
That's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
And the arrow pointing to heaven.
Well,
do we think that was original, like when they first created
Oh
the
no,
stone?
I think that was inscribed in the stone.
Yeah.
And I think that was done on purpose.
Okay.
And probably Mr. Washburn was responsible for that. So.
You know, it's a really interesting, the Latin on the bottom. It sounds like very familiar, like, you know, they were friends. Or I wonder if it was, we don't even know, right? Was it just...
Well, I read that it was his friend, E.S. Washburn, was his friend who gave the money to Mr. Crosby, the local, to take care of him because the show had to go on to the next community.
Right.
And he had the stone inscribed. The stone was inscribed. I assume it was Mr. Washburn that directed that. Perhaps it was Mr. Crosby that directed that to be but it does say his friend. The Latin phrase, true friendship always brings peace. So there was a friendship relationship here.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that is a really, as you said, it's just an interesting story.
So because it was so unusual, and I think it was probably the flowers that showed up on Memorial Day, this ended up being an attraction for school groups, and there was a lot of interest in this. Both the stone and the visits by the school children. Now, when I first heard about it, I had to go and find the stone because I wanted to see it, of course, and it's not hard to find.
Yeah.
It's right behind the brick storage building, which is at the Mount Auburn Street entrance to the cemetery, the brick building, and it's right behind it, the back of it.
Yeah.
The stone's there, easy to see, and it's a good attraction.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting.
Very easy to find.
And it's so neat. So you have this story
Yep.
in the right at the Historical Society.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's move on to your
All right, so
second.
So this is the one that is of particular interest to me because of, I guess, because of my location on Main Street. I lived at 87 Main Street for 50 years, and I was familiar with. I was actually familiar with the family that had the Indian Girl on Mayhew Street, and I was very familiar with the location of the Hopkinton Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show you that location.
Okay.
It was here for 165 years, so this is a what I call a slice of history. This is a good-sized slice
Yeah.
of Hopkinton history.
Yeah.
But anyways, the hotel is right here on the map. This is Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
This is the hotel. It says J. Long. You may hear about him in my talk. This is the old Hopkinton Depot. I'm gonna.
Okay. Yep.
And this is the railroad line that went
yeah.
by. So Lumbertown is sort of right here now.
Yep.
The railroad tracks are long gone. The depot has been moved to the Ice House Pond, but this is where it was from. And the hotel was built here for the reason that the Central Turnpike, I don't know if you've heard the term, the Central Turnpike.
Oh, yes.
Yet? Oh, okay. The Central Turnpike ran from Wellesley to Hartford, Connecticut, and a section of it had just been built in Hopkinton at the Wood Street, West Main Street intersection going west. And the builder of the hotel thought this would be a great location for his business. The shoe business was starting to really pick up in here. Actually, it was booming, so there was a lot of travel, and that he thought, it was a good business, good location, good business location.
Yeah.
The other part about this Central Turnpike that I find particularly interesting, but it's really an offshoot. It was a toll road.
Okay.
So you had to pay a toll
Oh.
to traverse it. It wasn't a free road.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. Of course, there was no horses. I mean, there was no cars in those days.
Right.
We're talking about carriage and horse and carriage
Yep.
travel. But
What do you know about the hotel?
so I know quite a bit about it. I had studied this, and the hotel, let me show you, first before I do that, I wanted to show you this most interesting photo that I found of the depot.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yep.
And that's the depot of that's the depot that's right beside the hotel here.
Okay. So was the hotel on the other side of it?
The hotel was on the uptown side of it.
Okay. Okay.
So on the map, the hotel would have been here, the depot would have been here.
Gotcha.
Oh, no, excuse me. The hotel was here, the depot was here. They were next to each other. There wasn't anything in between.
Okay.
This is a picture of the original hotel.
Oh, okay.
So it was
like
a nice looking building.
3 stories and an
Three-story
attic.
building, and had, can we see the livery stable?
To the left?
Yes, it's this building behind it is
Okay.
the livery stable.
Yep.
In front of it, there's a lot of horses and carriages. I'm thinking this picture was probably taken of a parade from across the street, and they got the hotel in the background. This
I
is a
see.
very good picture. It's the only one I've seen. It's the only one we have at the Historical Society that shows the hotel when it was originally constructed.
I see.
Nice looking building.
It is.
Businessmen of Hopkinton in 1890.
Okay.
It's a very interesting book. I get a lot of info out of this.
Yes.
But it has this photo, this great photo of the Park House Hotel, which right here.
Okay. Yep.
The Park House.
Oh yes, it's right on there.
And the park we're talking about is the town common.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right across from, on an angle, it's right across from the common.
Okay.
So that's a beautiful place.
Yep.
And it's more upscale than the Hopkinton Hotel. And
Oh.
I think that it was just too much competition.
I see.
That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, there was no, I don't have to speculate that the Hopkinton Hotel didn't do good. It didn't.
Okay.
It has had a lot of different owners, and nobody has done well on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what I wanted to talk about is some of these different owners that ran the Park House Hotel, that ran the Hopkinton Hotel.
Okay.
The hotel, as I said, was built in 1830. It lasted 165 years. It was torn down finally in 1995. So it existed constantly through this whole period
Mm-hmm.
in one form or another. It wasn't always a hotel. And that's one of the interesting things. The first innkeeper was a Mr. Warren in 1830. By 1841, there was an ownership change.
Oh.
In 1841, it was bought by the Hopkinton High School Corporation.
Really?
Yes, the Hopkinton High School Corporation, but it's not the town of Hopkinton.
Okay.
This was a private business. The towns did not run public schools in the 1840s.
Okay.
These were private. It was a private academy called, and the name was the Hopkinton Academy, but it was owned by the Hopkinton High School Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
The academy was very successful. It had 84 high school students, 26 boarded there in 1846. In 1847, it left the Main Street location and went to its new permanent location on Hayden Row Street. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this building, but there's a beautiful Greek Revival building just up the street, a couple of doors from the mansion on the corner.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was
Gotcha.
that was the academy there. This was in the 200th anniversary booklet of the town of Hopkinton. So the 200th anniversary was in 1915, right. A private school was conducted by a Mr. Wetherill in the old hotel building near the railroad station. When the academy was built on Hayden Row Street, Mr. Wetherill was transferred and taught for a year, being succeeded by the Reverend Daniel J. Poor. So this is what it says in our 200th anniversary booklet. So Here we go. So here we have a hotel that became a school.
Yeah. Now, it became a school after the 140, 160 years?
No, so during the 165-year period,
Okay.
I should say, during the 165-year period, it was always used for residential purposes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it wasn't a hotel for that long. It was just a building for that
it was
long.
a building, yeah. It was mostly a hotel, but no, it had other uses.
Okay.
But it's residential use for 165 years.
Okay.
I misstated that. After the high school corporation sold the property, Mr. Leonard Parkhurst became the next owner. Parkhurst died in 1862, but we have his probate records at the Historical Society, and this is what it says about the building. It's very interesting. The building was 3.5 stories tall and had 22 rooms, a stable, and 4 acres of land for growing fruit. On the first floor was a large parlor and a large dining room. The parlor was furnished with a lounge, table, 12 matching chairs, 4 rocking chairs, and a looking glass. In the dining room were 2 large tables, 12 chairs, 6 lamps, and 2 china closets. The second floor contained family quarters, plus 2 bedrooms and a best room. The bedrooms were furnished with dry sinks, dressing tables, looking glasses, light stands, and chairs. The best room also had a lounge. On the 3rd floor were 9 rooms, each with a bed, light stand, table, and chair.
It's a big building.
Yeah.
1995. That wasn't long ago.
No.
When they tore it down.
When you'll remember this when we get there.
Okay.
So after Mr. Parkhurst owned it, the next owner was Mary Dimmock. Mary was Hopkinton's only African American at that time. And I only mention this because of the oddity there, or the unusual.
Right, yeah.
The unusual factor. In 1886, the owner became Effie Loftman from Barry. She bought it in 1886. 1 month into her ownership, there was a serious fire, which began in the livery stable. The fire destroyed the livery stable. It destroyed next door property of the Rice brothers, and it badly damaged the hotel. Renovations were made, but the hotel had to be reduced to 2 stories, and a new livery stable had to be built. And this is the hotel after. This is the hotel after it was
renovated.
Okay. Say how much smaller it is.
Yes.
In the Leading Businessman's book, there's an article which talks about the hotel, and I want to also read that.
Okay.
The house has been thoroughly renovated. This is after the fire now. The house has been thoroughly renovated and refurnished in a neat and attractive style. The rooms are well ventilated and well furnished with good beds and offer to the traveler a hospitable welcome. The aim of the management is to give its patrons the ease and comforts of a home and a table supplied with an abundance of well-cooked food in variety, as good as the market affords, while the service is prompt and courteous and the prices are moderate. A good livery is connected with the house, where a good horse and easy carriage can be had, with or without a driver, at reasonable rates for the service. Competent assistants are employed, and all patrons will receive polite and considerate attention. So that was, that's how they advertised it.
Okay. And what year was that?
That was in 1890.
Okay.
This is an 1890 directory, and it was about that time that the renovation was done.
Okay.
In 1900, so you can hear how many changes we had. In 1900, we have another owner, James Stratton of Hopkinton. He renamed it as the Hopkinton House. He had relatives who operated in the hotel, operated a card room, a bar, and they had a liquor sales operation there.
Okay.
Also, there was a Mrs. Whittier that operated a millinery shop in one of the front rooms.
Okay.
That went on for a few years. In 1928, the building was bought by Lindsay and Louise Thompson, and they converted it into a rooming house. Now we no longer have a hotel, we have a rooming house. And the rooming house lasts for many years. They also converted the livery stable into an automobile repair shop. And I have a picture of the renovated hotel. Then we come to 1973.
Okay.
The Catholic Church of Boston bought the hotel. And they took a few years, they renovated it, and it became the hospitality house, a boarding house for recovering alcoholics.
Oh.
And that lasted until 1995.
Okay.
So it was, and that was a very successful operation, and it did well for its clientele. But it came to an end. The final change happened. It was torn down.
Yeah.
And to make way for today, to make way for the respite house.
Yeah.
That's where that's on. The respite house today is on the location of the Hopkinton Hotel.
Well, John, our time flies away. This has been really, really interesting. And I just want to say, I think that, I hope more people go and visit the Historical Society, because you have such a depth of, it's what you do. You have a depth of knowledge of what this town has been.
I would just like to reiterate our hours and when we're open and how it works there. We're open every Monday from 2 to 5 in the afternoon. It's absolutely free of charge. Anybody in the public, this is open to the public. Anybody can come. Please come by and visit us.
Okay.
My
and I hope you please come back and share more of these hidden treasures from here so that, people may become aware of that and seek you out.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome.
All right.
Glad to do it.
All right. Thanks. And thank you for spending this time with us, and we hope to see you again on Hidden Treasures.